Hello and welcome to another episode of Make Mine Mayday, the show all about Spider-Girl and the MC2. This episode, we're going to be covering issues 6 through 8 of Amazing Spider-Girl, and thank you for watching and thank you for listening. Before we get started, we want to thank our patrons, of course, Vinkman, Scott, Jurgen, Greg, Phoenician, Georgia, Cindy, and Kale. Thank you guys for your support of this show and all of our shows here on the Spidey Dude Radio Network. Shows such as the Spidey Dude Experience, Voices from the Eerie, Style Buscema Era Podcast, Amazing Spider-Man Classics, Spectacular Radio, and coming very soon, the finale of Clone Saga Chronicles. Tonight is a great night, and of course, I can't do this show without Kelly. Hello, Kelly.
Hello. How is everybody doing? It's a random Tuesday, but it's a-okay because this is going to be a short, quick episode.
Yes.
And like you have down on the screen, because I know our audio listeners cannot see it.
Yes.
Mr. Comics 89 says, it's been a hell of a day, and he wants to unwind with us, which is great because we want to unwind with you guys.
Yes, absolutely. We want to have some fun tonight. We've May You Live in Interesting Times has been certainly a theme of both me and Kelly. So over the last couple of months, and so we want to just have some fun, talking about some great, amazing Spider-Girl comics. And as Kelly said, I give the usual disclaimer. Of course, these shows are live streamed, and if you're listening to the audio edition, pay us no mind, as we're going to make some references to the visual aids and or live comments. So be sure to check us out on youtube.com/Spidey Dude Radio Network. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. So, yeah. And then we got SoFlo in the house saying hello to Kelly and Zach. So we got some news to talk about a little bit.
News. So eventually, if anybody's checked their email and still was a part of Pop in the Box and didn't cancel their pre-order because it took too long.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they did ship out. They were delivered. I know I got mine sometime on Friday or Saturday, but it shipped to my mom's house.
Yeah.
Where I normally put pre-orders just in case I don't know where I'm going to be. And yeah, so I know it's there. I saw Brad from Spider-Man Crawlspace did get his and posted some photos today. From his photos, it could just be his. They do look a little cleaner around the eyes than the one that I got from the international version. However, the only difference is a sticker. Like I warned everybody when I realized what the heck was going on. So I'm glad people got theirs. I know I got mine. I know some people with debit cards were charged twice. So make sure you can fix it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I had problems with mine. I'm still dealing with them, going back and forth with them, so I still have not gotten mine yet. And it didn't help that when I pre-ordered this, I wasn't even planning on moving 630 miles away.
No.
So if it gets shipped, it's probably going to end up getting shipped to my dad's house. So yeah.
At least someone's there. That's the good thing.
You can be like, what? But yeah, no, I got it. And they were having trouble with my processing it and stuff, so I've got to get with them, and they're fine. They're a fine crack team of customer care.
Yeah, they're customer care. But yeah, no, hopefully you get things resolved. If not, I guess I can ship you this extra one since I bought the international version. Yeah. But I did that on purpose so I could take the photos side by side. So I will be for our video listeners, I am in a hotel, not in my normal area and not in the office at work, which at least, no office. I am doing some unexpected travel, and that's all I'm going to go into on it. So no more questions on it. Okay. But I do have my international version. I will bring it with me when I go to my mom's house for much needed puppy time with the doggos. So I will I will compare the versions and take photos, and maybe I'll give them to Zach to put on the social webs.
On social media. We'll also put them up on the front page of spidey-dude.com. Speaking of, you can find like figure type reviews. Hobby sent me the Mayfex Ben Riley, sort of related, and I want to both hug him and punch him at the same time because this was completely unexpected, and I love it, man. It's that it really is one of the best action figures that you can. Mayfex does a really great job.
Yeah.
I just happen to be the unfortunate sap that bought a knockoff, and the knockoffs are trash. They're good to a point. I wouldn't.
You get what you paid for. You paid for a knockoff. You got a knockoff. That's how this works.
I did, and some knockoffs. Sometimes you can get knockoff, and they're pretty much the same quality. I haven't had terrible success with like Marvel Legends knockoffs because they're usually using the same mold. This was the same mold. It just the thing fell apart. So eventually, I think I'll probably get the. They just reissued the regular Spidey, so with actually more accessories, I think. So yeah, there's that. I'm hoping they'll do a Spider Girl because they just did a Ben Riley, like Scarlet Spider. They just announced the pre-orders for that, and it looks gorgeous.
All right, where are we from the 25th? A year?
Yeah, we're about a year away.
Oh God! So maybe for the 25th we'll get something.
That would be
fun.
Cool. I'm hoping for at least a Marvel Legend.
Yeah. It's just saying that makes me feel old.
Right? It makes me feel old. Makes us feel old.
Yeah, but it's hey, we'll see. We'll see what we get. But yeah, that's really the only news that I know of. Again, other than I know that Mayday has been shown on a few covers for the end of Spider-Verse. Again, I'll put it this way. Obviously, we'll review it. So we're gonna. I would say ultimately, like I went through a little rant last time. I'm going to reserve my judgment and reserve. Kind of just reserve my feelings on it for when we review it. We might talk about it depending on what actually happens in it. But hopefully nothing too crazy where we would need to make it a news article, like a news discussion will happen. And we can kind of just save it. Because clearly we're going through every appearance. And so at the moment, that's an appearance, and we'll handle it. But
it's one of those things. We'll get to it on the show, but
yeah, hopefully she's just on the cover. But that's my 2 cents. I'm just like, hopefully she's just like, nah, I got school. Bye. I'm not dealing with this anymore. That's what I'm hoping. But
unfortunately, what they've done is before, like with Spider-Geddon, they added more questions and answers, and so I'm not really looking forward to that part. If they do something like Ancillary, where Tom and Ron come back and they do something,
but
with that,
of course, but as it stands now, I would much rather the current creative team maybe just have her in an issue with all of them all together and just says, look, I've got, after the events of Spider-Geddon, I have a lot of things I got to deal with in my home world. I can't handle this.
Yeah, if she makes a cameo, then we'll cover it and we'll talk about it and kind of do like a odds and ends type thing, because like it's not like she did a lot in Spider-Geddon,
and that's what I'm saying. Like, most of Spider-Geddon is her. It's ultimately really just her being a supporting character in Annie's story, and I'm okay with that in the sense that she wasn't completely mischaracterized.
Right.
I think Jodie Hauser did the best she could with what she was handed. That
seems to be a common theme at Marvel. Do ancillary books.
Yeah. So again, like I'm not upset in those situations, it's just currently don't have a lot of faith, and I don't have a lot of faith in current Marvel right now.
Yeah.
My nerves are more like I want to protect my favorite character, and I don't want bad things to happen, and I don't want a continuation of what honestly is not like a borderline traumatic story for me. But you know what? We'll read it anyway and talk to you guys about it. And that's kind of where we are. Again, nothing major. Otherwise, these aren't like super breaking news. Just follow-ups and updates on the things that we do see. And
yeah. I mean, if we see anything else, I don't think the October solicitations have come out yet. So
no, maybe, they haven't.
By the next time we record, that may be the case. Especially if we're doing it on Thursday, because they tend to release those on Thursdays. So it always happens. Like I recorded SDE, and then we're like, "Oh, we'll do the solicitations," and then the solicitations come out the next day. So. Yeah. But if, like I say, we'll keep our eyes peeled. Let us know if you guys see anything, and if there is anything worth noting, we'll bring it up next episode on there. So
exactly, which our next episode will be the Fantastic Five Volume 2, and I think we're still planning on it this month. We will let you know if things change.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to the YouTube channel, especially because I'll be putting it up ready to go through StreamYard once we have the date hammered out. That is my goal, at least with all of our shows, is to have that up on the YouTube, that feature up on YouTube too. So we'll be, I'll have another episode of SDE whenever they publish 900. That's the tentative plan. So. But let's get to the topic at hand. We'll talk about what was going on with Marvel at this time. Of course, we've kind of talked about the era of which this is being published. This is right around the time of House of M. So that's the big, massive event that is going on at Marvel. There's some house ads and stuff like that. If you're reading in the floppies particularly, you'll see references to that, which makes the story we're covering at the end of the episode kind of apropos, weirdly, and it kind of semi-ties in because you're dealing with a mutant situation. But yeah, no, we were riding high from my notes. The fandom was really riding high at this point, where the first arc is starting to wind down. Of course, they had on the trade dress, Whatever Happened to the Daughter of Spider-Man, Part 6. And this is, of course, the time when they were writing for the trades. So the trade, and speaking of trades, during I think when issue 7 was being published, it was the same month that digest number 9 was coming out. So they're still publishing the digests. Things are going good. We have the relaunch title, and sales did go up, and then they kind of stayed. There was an increase compared to the first volume. Obviously, the first issue, was more than double, but that was because of variant covers and things like that. But really sold well. And there was, it kind of went back down to about 25 to 27,000, which was better. About an increase of about 5,000 readers, about 5,000 more readers than before. So the relaunch did work and bring in new readers, and it kind of held steady this whole time. So. That's there is of note. Tom wrote a Spider-Girl story that was in a prose format.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of that, we will discuss that, but it will be towards the end, just because I actually didn't know where that was. Because you're talking about the dress, right?
I think so. I was just.
I love how I call it the dress. It's the dance. I'm calling the dress because I found something that was the right color and looked just like the little drawing in it, and I can't. I gotta lose some weight to fit in it. But yeah, so
I get.
So I don't know why my brain went the dress. I'm tired.
You're thinking of. Yeah. No. So there was a magazine that was coming out at the time called Spider-Man Magazine. It was kind of like it would republished some stories in it. It was in more of a magazine type format, but it was I think intended to be more mass market, but it ended up just being in comic shops.
Yeah.
I think I've got a couple of them, but I don't know if I have the one that has this story in it.
But
So
also, see, so if it's the story I'm thinking about, if that was published, are you sure that was published around this time and it wasn't published a little later? Because the story, the story is a little shippy, and the current boyfriend is not involved. So I'm a little confused.
Around the same time as issue 7, which I don't have. We'll get to that in a minute, but it was mentioned in the letters page. You can find, and I think they have the letters page on Marvel Unlimited. So I think that's where they mention it, is in that letters page. I'll double check.
There might be another story, and we might just cover them all as one episode. The prose stories. I'm gonna double check because I'm not 100% sure. I remember one story, but I really don't. I'm like a little lost on the line. I'm like just wondering why that would be. I can't remember. I'm gonna have to reread it.
If you hear movement on my end, I have a 75-pound Waylon deciding to be a hurricane coming in and making his presence. So hello to Waylon.
Hi, Waylon.
And he smells the French fries that I've been munching on. He's like, food. So yeah, that's what's going on. So let's get to the first breakdown. I'm going to break down issue number 6 as I hold it up for our audio listeners. I'm holding it up. It's got the green goblin. It's got the Hobgoblin holding a Spider Girl. All right, it's on the front of the cover. It says "Whatever Happened to the Daughter of Spider-Man," Part 6. The name of the issue is the title of the issue is actually "The Hobgoblin and the Hostage," written by Tom DeFalco, drawn by Ron Friends, and inked, finished by Sal Buscema. Our issue opens with a full splash page of the Hobgoblin smashing his way into Deacon's den, and Mayday is doing her usual narration. He throws a bomb on Spider-Girl. But May decides to take a step or two back and tell the story from the beginning. May is kind of tapping away at her computer when her dad busts in and demands an answer to the reports that Spider-Girl is running around at a comic book store. She quickly explains the situation, and of course, at that point, his tone changes. But MJ pulls her aside, discussing the situation from a couple issues ago, where she obviously gave the costume to Mayday to help at school. So... But they've been keeping this a secret from Peter. And so May suggests a family meeting, and MJ agrees with it. So she's walking along with her floating heads of guilt of Black Tarantula, Kingpin, and Hobby, kind of going over the fact that she is in possession of the disc. And meanwhile, at the police station, Draco is trying to convince Miss Carlo to turn things over, but she doesn't have the disc. She gave it to Spider-Girl. And he then informs... Kingsley about and kind of updates him. Kingsley wants Draco to keep an eye on her. Meanwhile, Heather tells May the next day to plan to dress as Spider-Girl for Jimmy. They get to her locker. The plan to dress as Spider-Girl for Jimmy. They get to her locker, and we have the Quitter painted across it again. Jean shows up and does his usual, "I am man, I protect you, May, I will avenge your honor" stick. And May doesn't really know how to react. Heather seems amused by it, but understands that she has it good with Jimmy. Felicity shows up and makes fun of her brother's antics, and she's excited for the recent developments with May dropping out of the election, and she's thinking that, if you're dropping out of the election, does that mean you're back, more or less in the hero biz? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And, of course, offers her help if she needs it. Meanwhile, we cut to South America, where Black Tarantula is getting an update from Chesbro, and he dismisses the disc because once he was informed that Spider-Girl has it, he doesn't want to provoke Spider-Girl. So back in Queens, May and Felicity are trying to crack this disc unsuccessfully, and she thinks that maybe she should turn it over to the Fantastic Five or the Avengers. She leaves and is confronted by Davida because, she kind of needs to be confronted because obviously this was a blindside from last issue. And a mob of people, not really, I wrote mob, but a group of fellow students will show up and kind of save May because they're like, yeah, you did a great, it was a good thing. We're supporting you, Davita. And Davita's trying to handle the situation. And May uses the distraction to be able to kind of slink off. Davita wanted to talk to May one-on-one, obviously, but May has been kind of avoiding Davita. So that's what's going on there. And so we get to Dinkin's den, and Heather's about to finish putting on the wig and the I guess the glasses on the outfit before the store opens. May considers coming clean to the gang when they get to the store. She's talking about, well, maybe if I tell Courtney, but if I tell Courtney, do I have to tell the entire gang? So she's kind of like processing it through her brain. Okay, if she tells one, if she tells Davita, does she have to tell Courtney? Does she have to tell the rest of the gang? So Heather begins to play her role with all of the past issues as a fun Easter egg of the MC2 behind her in the little rack. Just as the moment is, I don't know why, just at the moment that everything's being opened, I don't know why I put is enjoyed, May's spider sense goes off, and we are back to the beginning of the issue. May knows that she can't sit on the sidelines, and she makes a bolt. She changes quickly. Heather tells Roddy that she's, of course, not the real Spider-Girl. But he knows this, because she is merely bait. May shows up, and the fight begins to ensue. She runs out of webbing and starts to hide to regroup, ducking and dodging Roddy's attacks. And then she uses her stingers to hit Hobgoblin in the hand, causing him to drop Heather. After a very obvious Superman joke... May is dodging the blast, weaving in and out, telling Hobby that she smashed the disc, trying hard, and she's trying hard to come in for the landing. Heather is so confused as to, where are the webs? You're the web spinner after all. And when she does this, Heather shifts her weight, and it causes May to roll her ankle. May tries to kind of regroup, but suddenly, as Hobby is coming down, he's like, look, you better not have destroyed this disc. And he's suddenly hit with some bullets. You see, earlier, Black Tarantula had said that maybe he needs to send a message to Hobgoblin. And so Hobby guesses that it's Black Tarantula saying that Spider-Girl has a guardian angel. And of course, this message has been pretty well received. Well, not so well received for Roddy. Afterwards, Wes and May are talking, and Wes kind of laments that he never thought of the real Spider-Girl in the making of the comic, and he's trying to relate with her now, and he's trying to understand what she's going through. And he lives in his dad's shadow, and he can't imagine how she is trying to be a hero and still live up to her dad's legacy. May kisses him on the cheek and leaves, telling her that the kiss, he just needs to act like the kiss was from Spider-Girl. And May then decides to drop the disc off with Draco, and she heads home when Jean begins to call, and she doesn't answer. She ignores this and heads home. May has a confession to make. She comes clean with her parents. She'll be Spider-Girl, whether it's when she turns 18 or whenever. She feels like she was born to be Spider-Girl. She decides to leave and get some air and smiles. She's the daughter of Spider-Man, and today is the first day of the rest of her life. In the letters page, we shout out to Jeffers, a former guest on the program, Michael Jung, Sean Foley, and James Malone. Kelly, your thoughts on this issue?
Yes. So, to me, this is, even though this is a part 6 of what happened to the daughter of Spider-Man, this really feels more kind of a closing of the little one-shot parts. I really enjoy how, because and this ties into next episode or next issue as well, but all of May's friends seem very they're very protective of Spider-Girl. Like, they really do appreciate her time and kind of put themselves in her shoes a lot, which is good because it shows that, May's friend group, are very caring young people, especially Wes in his scene here. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is just a great one shot. It's a lot of fun. Like, I love that it's set in a comic book store, and you've got your cosplayers when that was in vogue to have the character be there at comic signings and stuff like that at comic book shops.
Right.
So it's a nice little throwback of that kind of time and just the fun of stuff like that. And then of course, in general, just it's a lot of fun. May really does show, just how capable she really is, because she's kind of running around messing with Hobgoblin with her hands tied behind her back without her web shooters. Or without web fluid rather. So it's like I said, it's a really good solid issue. It's a lot of fun, and ultimately I think to me my biggest takeaway from the issue is the scene at the end where she comes clean, because there's a resolve. She knows what she wants. She knows who she is, something that we just spent 106 issues of her kind of learning that, and it's like, this is something that she has decided, this is her, this is a part of her, whether even she likes it or not, this is a part of her, although I think she loves it, but you know what I mean, like, it's an innate need. She's going to do it. If she has to wait, she'll wait, but she's going to, and
which is
grounds herself, but it's very mature for her age, and it definitely shows a lot of responsibility and a lot of, honestly, accountability. Her mom did give her the costume, so it's not like, in this situation she was really, even though she did kind of run behind their backs, it's not, in this situation, it's not like she's sitting here saying, like, I've, completely disobeyed you guys, but, I know that we should have talked about this and I didn't, but the reason why is because I have to do this. And
it's very much when you go back and think to the first volume of how May was hiding things from her parents, and you can see the character growth here in that she's willing to come clean.
It's before she was grappling with it and she didn't understand why she had really become such an accomplished liar, because she was trying her best to prove herself, and she didn't want her parents swooping in, or she didn't want people to prevent her from showing, basically being able to show who she is and figure that out. And here, like, obviously, like, we're still going to be dealing with some of these things and these themes because she's a teenager. This is kind of like the real start of, like, no, she knows who she is. She knows what she's been through, and she knows what she must do, because with great power, there must also come great responsibility. And here she is taking responsibility. She is holding herself accountable. And that shows, like you said, it shows a lot of growth and a lot of maturity. It is just, it's great.
It's something that when you get to have long form storytelling, you get to see. Especially, I really appreciate it reading it now, having gone through the entire first volume of everything, and like, that's one of the things that I really, really enjoy about this run, is that it's like we get to this point, I'm like, oh yeah, and it just things hit differently for me reading it now. That it's that I'm getting to, like, reread it, and my perspective has changed. From my notes that I apparently did not finish, I don't know why. I say, man, Gene's a creep.
Yeah. Like, I mean, Okay, so here's the thing though. Like what he says is creepy, like just taking it out of complete context. I think I wrote in on this in my notes, just like it is very cringe. It is full of cringe and is very like red flaggy. But we also know what is coming down the line
Right.
to fully show that the whole, I don't know, I guess like honestly, spoiler, because this has been a few years ago, but because I don't know how else to describe just like being able
Yeah.
to reread it after knowing and just like how
Right.
actually icky it is basically, spoiler alert, Jean is the one that wrote quitter on her locker and was writing the graffiti.
Yeah.
So he did this and then made this show. And let's be fair here. Why does he keep doing these show things of like showing, hey, I want to protect you. I I'm the one that really appreciates you. I'm the one that, has your back and fully supports you because that's what good boyfriends do. Because he wants he wants May to be fawning over him 100% of the time. And that's not a real relationship. And I can understand teenage boys thinking that might be it. But the thing is that's also a major red flag and a major sign of an abusive person because they're trying to get you under their thumb so they can control you. And while
Yep.
obviously, you
I,
know, even
yeah.
May feels creeped out by it, but she's also very flattered because she's not fully aware of this. I think
Mhm.
even is it this issue or next issue where she's talking and um it's like she's talking about how people, it is this issue where nobody understands her friends, kind of hate him, but they don't really know the real him. And I'm just like, reading that was the cringiest thing of the whole issue. That bugged me, but it bugged me because I've been there. I think especially young love, everyone's been there.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to see
Trust me.
you don't want to see the bad things, and that's the issue. But it was like just having her do that. It's like, oh no, oh no, 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 no. You're supposed to be stronger. You're supposed to be better. But I think we've discussed this too. It's like, I mean, I don't know how many times I feel like I'm a total failure. We see on these, in these issues where May struggles with that 100% of the time. It's not always, you can't always be the badass to yourself or on the outside. Things don't always, things are never static. Life is dynamic. Your feelings, your self-confidence, your life, things that are going on in your life affect how you feel and the thing, and how you learn and grow. And it's never, you're never always going to be so sure of yourself. And this is kind of one of those situations. This is a lesson she has to learn. Um, we can't protect her from it. Just like, rereading this after having age on me, because when I first read this, I didn't notice that. Like, I didn't clock this. I thought this was normal, and of course I didn't know what Jean really did.
Right. Because if you're reading this as it's coming out, you're like, oh, Dean's kind of being a little dramatic. But then,
You say that, but so like in the comments we have Jared saying, chick flick slide does. I wouldn't even call it a chick flick because even the romantic like the little like raunchy romantic comedies, like look
oh
at
yeah,
it.
like the '90s teen comedies and stuff like.
Yeah, we just, that was something that like we were taught was okay. Oh, they're being possessive because they care for us. Oh, they're bullying us because they have feelings for us and that's why they're teasing us. I mean, we learned that in the play yard and that's BS too. And
Right.
it's these behaviors that like are very antiquated and not appropriate and generally aren't what we know as a respectful, healthy relationship now. But these
Right.
are also things that us as adults have all learned, and unfortunately learned the hard way. Most of us do learn this the hard way because the heart wants what it wants. And if it can like rearrange and bend to make an idea of somebody fit, it will. But that's the idea of somebody, and that's not necessarily who they are.
Yeah. And trust me, we could do a whole psychoanalysis, I'm sure, on Gene all day long for
Oh
over an hour.
yeah. Oh yeah. Totally.
But Ryan brings up a really good point in the comments. He says, it's funny, you look at Gene and Felicity, and they are not only complete opposites, they both took the bad traits of their parents, which is true. I was going to bring it up earlier, talking about how he's possessive and stuff like that. Gene feels like he wants May to be what Liz and Flash were in the 60s.
Yeah.
There was possessiveness with Liz and Flash, and that's just that is one of his character flaws. That and being a bully, and so it's interesting to see how that trait has been passed down.
It's definitely. I mean, we could kind of go in and like wax on, wax off about what could be or what would have been a cool idea to go, to a story to go down to explore that more. Because we've said that multiple times,
right?
That we would love to have seen like why did Felicity and Gene wind up so in need of some counseling.
Right.
But, that's it. It is what it is. That's the thing. And the thing is that actually us thinking about that shows how real these characters really feel. They're
exactly
three-dimensional. They're not perfect. Just like Flash wasn't. Flash kind of was also three-dimensional. Like the early writing, these are supposed to feel like people. And no one's going to be perfect. No one's a static 2D character or a caricature of somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Even though these are fictional characters, they have flaws and things that they have to go through. And like Gene, sure, we would hope Flash would have taught Gene better, and I'm sure he has. And I think that that's the thing, is that like Gene has to get his own head out of his butt, and he has to grow and learn, and there's lessons he has to learn that he hasn't learned yet. But the thing is just like, we're seeing the story from May's point of view, and May is our lead. And at this point, all of us are very, especially rereading it after all these years, we love her. We want to protect her because we know what's going to happen. And rereading it and seeing, oh, wow, this was not great. This could have, for me, it's like I look at it and I go, oh God, this could have, it in the wrong hands, this would have gotten very after school special very fast.
Yeah.
So thankfully things are kept a little bit more kid friendly. And so, but it's still a lesson, we're going to learn. And it's, young love is not what we remember it to be. I think that that's really the key here.
Yeah, exactly right. It's exactly right.
So yeah.
I was going to double check because I have I forgot to put the cover date. This was cover dated May 2007. On sale date was March 14th of 2007. So, all right, that leads us to our next issue that we're going to cover, which is issue number 7, which
yes.
I don't have.
I can't believe you don't have it, but I will do my best to describe it as best as possible. So maybe you can kind of give some on the cuff new feelings on it. But info is cover date June 2007. It was on sale April 11th, 2007. The cover price was $2.99. The Falco Friends, Buscema Sharp, colorist is Gotham Studios, and the title is called Revenge. The breakdown is a LadyHawk crashes into the Leaky Bucket, a tavern in Brooklyn. She's looking for Tony, Magic Fingers Morello. She finds him and makes a quip that a woman must have not given him that nickname, and I forgot that was in there. So good one. And she is planning to shake Magic Fingers down until he tells her where the Hobgoblin is. We cut to the Parker residence in Forest Hills, where things are eerily quiet this morning. Everyone is careful not to talk about the elephant that is in the living room, aka the suit, and it sits in a panel on a chair, literally looking like it has come to life and is just waiting. It is awesome. I love that panel. But everyone is very careful not to talk about what May truth bombed on her parents the night before, aka the last issue. Peter gets up to leave for work and advises he'll talk to her when he gets home, but he is very disappointed in May. When Peter leaves, MJ tells May she does understand where May is coming from on this, explaining that her fear for May is different than it is/was for Peter. She knew who he was from the start and accepted that, but May is her little girl. May is her baby. May walks to the door, getting ready to leave for school, when she sees that the LadyHawks are calling her, so she slips her suit in her bag and heads out. She puts on her suit and heads to the warehouse the LadyHawks use as a base, and she meets Regina, one of the LadyHawks, who is in a wheelchair. The last time we saw her was when she was badly injured by the Hobgoblin, and I wrote in Spider-Girl 99/100. I want to say most of the last time we saw her was 99. But I didn't, unfortunately, I did not double check like I promised I'd do. So sorry, guys. But Regina tells Spider-Girl that Rosetta, her sister, aka the other LadyHawk, has gone off on her own vengeance mission. Determined to hunt down the Hobgoblin and make him pay for what he's done to Regina, Regina pleads with Spider-Girl to help her find her sister and get her to stop this crazy, like kamikaze mission before she suffers the same fate as her or worse. At Midtown South precinct, Drasko is staring intently at the disc Spider-Girl gave him about what bombshells might lie on the payroll documents when Hobgoblin calls him. He has another task to handle, to basically be on call with a meetup with, I don't know, something happened here, but when a Harlem mob in the Harlem Rackets go south. At Midtown High, everyone is clamoring, the boys, Jimmy and Wes, for a Spider-Girl comic after what happened the day before. Heather comes by to talk to May and mentions how sorry she feels for Spider-Girl's family, because even though Spider-Girl did save her, and it was extremely dangerous and scary, Heather just can't imagine what kind of stress that kind of life can cause. Way to really jab that in, Heather. Great. But, also good on Heather. This is also very good character growth for Heather, because she cares about other people. So, Meanwhile, Hobby talks about trust or lack thereof with his twin brother while in East he talks about it with his brother in their underground bunker, which is a sewer in New York. I just want to throw that out there. While in East Harlem, a similar discussion is happening with the racket boss. So back at Midtown High, May and Wes start to have a chat, but before any serious conversation can start, in comes Jean being really possessive, almost like he was eavesdropping on the whole conversation, which is creepy. Again, just throwing that out there. But all right. Wes walks back from that with an awesome saying that he, what was it? The didn't mean to harm Tokyo. It's a Godzilla thing, and as we know,
yeah, he did. Ease off, Godzilla. I didn't mean to harm Tokyo.
Yes, there we go. So, so Wes walks back from that, and Jean rains the love bombing super, super hard with, sorry, I overreacted. I just need to protect you since you're my girlfriend. All right. And asks May to meet at the coffee shop. May agrees in her own words. This is what I was talking about earlier. In her own words, May is still basking in the glow of Jean's unconditional support, which newsflash May, it's not unconditional. And she sails through her afternoon classes. May even thinks about how most of her friends are wrong about Jean and just can't see that he really cares for her. And I can't help but cringe because those are some of the famous last words when it comes to teenage love right there. And just like having a not so healthy relationship, it's cringe, as we talked about. And I literally I'll rant about it later. But you know what? I ranted about it before we talked about it. Sorry, y'all. But Spider-Girl is heading to the apartment of one Daniel Kingsley, aka Roderick's twin brother. So Daniel, who moved, like I said, into the sewers with his brother, isn't there, and May thinks he skipped town. But as Spider-Girl approaches the apartment, her spider sense goes off. Thankfully, it's not really putting out any kind of sense of urgency because we know her spider sense works a little differently than Peter's. And so she kind of has a feeling she knows what she's going to walk into. And of course, when she does crawl in, she finds Rosetta. They spar a bit, as superheroes do, and they talk, as disagreeing superheroes do. And Rosetta starts unloading all about her guilt and why she needs to avenge her sister, Regina. She's the one who convinced her to be a superhero, to go out and fight crime side by side. And she promised to protect her, and she failed. She owes this to her sister. May understands 100% and offers her help instead of, just finding a way to make Rosetta back off. They start talking about how Daniel's apartment has been picked clean and how Rosetta has no other leads. May makes a call to Drasco, and he tells them exactly where the Hobgoblin is going to be. A little too happy about that, if I do say so. May tells Rosetta that Hobby is meeting a gang boss in Harlem, someone named Morgan. Someone Rosetta seems to know. Later in East Harlem, Rosetta comes in ready for the goons with her throwing discs, knocking guns out of hands. Since Rosetta seems to get a bit too into the fight, Spider-Girl jumps in, reminding Rosetta to work with her as a teammate and not just go in on her own. But as the goons get worried for their boss, Morgan seems very cool and collected and advises that this is a visit long time coming. Morgan calmly reminds his goons that they haven't done anything wrong and shouldn't be acting so adversarially to the girls. They should remember their manners. Morgan mentions to LadyHawk that her outfit reminds him of a fallen hero, Falcon, and she responds that she does believe that Morgan has more than a passing acquaintance with him, which seems to bug Morgan a bit, but he keeps his cool demeanor when he lies to Spider-Girl and about not being contacted by Hobgoblin. He asks why they are so concerned with the Hobgoblin, and Rosetta tells him that the Hobgoblin crippled her sister. This shocks Morgan, and then we cut to sometime later in the Bronx, where Rosetta and May are waiting for the Hobgoblin to show. May is starting to piece together that the LadyHawks have some connection with Morgan's gang, as Rosetta starts really just shutting down on answering these questions. When it's coming to talk about her parents, and basically that, they don't have their dad, their mom passed away. So all she has left is her sister. And May makes mention who might take care of Regina if Rosetta gets hurt or worse. And also, why isn't the Hobgoblin there yet? All right, bringing this down. All right, so... But, obviously, that's because Morgan gave them the wrong address. In the Hudson River Warehouse District, Morgan and Hobgoblin meet up, only for Morgan to surround Hobgoblin with his army of goons, advising that normally Morgan is open to anyone or anything that could help his profit margin. He's even lost his wife and kids because of it. But he's making an exception not to work with the Hobgoblin in light of recent personal news. Drasko is wondering why Spider-Girl isn't calling him back for the deets of the meetup when he hears gunshots. He calls the station asking for backup, but he's hoping they won't get there too quickly. Back in the Bronx, the girls start to realize that they were either misled or Hobgoblin isn't showing. And Rosetta tells Spider-Girl that she has bigger responsibilities than just being there for her sister. The world needs heroes like her, and she has an obligation to protect the innocent from the likes of people like the Hobgoblin. She can't let her sister come between her and the job that she loves, no matter what pain that causes. She swings off into the night as Spider-Girl contemplates this message, a similar message she spoke to her parents yesterday. In the sewers, a tattered hobby comes back to his lair to his worried twin brother, and they wonder why Morgan changed his mind on the Alliance. In Morgan's office, we see him looking at a photo of his family, a woman and 2 twin girls. May comes in after her long day and hands her mother her costume. She tells Mary Jane she does understand everything her parents have been going through and having, with her having to wear the webs, and she goes upstairs to practice being grounded. The end.
Well, this was my first time reading this one. I don't know how I missed this, because at the time I was getting a regular subscription.
Yeah, I'm at a loss for words for you, but
yeah, like I literally was like, I literally got to I got to the letters page and I'm like, I don't remember this cover. It's an unused cover, and I'm like, and then I'm looking through my box and I'm like, I don't remember this book. And then I'm reading the book on Marvel Unlimited and I'm like, I don't remember this book. I don't think I've read this book before. So you get to hear my fresh perspective on it. This also explains why I did not understand what you were saying back in when the LadyHawk first appeared.
I'm so sorry.
I know it makes more sense now because I'm like, I know. I've read that issue. Yeah, I've read that issue. No, I had not. And I didn't realize it. And so this is a really, really good, solid one and done issue. I think, wasn't it issue 7 that they first appeared? I'll have to go look.
I'll have to look too. But I think so. Somewhere around there. They appear very early on.
Mm.
And the thing is, we don't really get to know them.
Yeah.
Until this issue. But once you know their story and you know what's going on, you want to know more. I almost, when we were talking about who would the whole write-in on the miniseries, I would have loved to have gotten a miniseries with the LadyHawks.
Right.
But I will say this, thinking about it, it's would we have gotten the same story had this had a mini series written in 1999? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know how far back these characters were thought out like that. So I really enjoyed this story. I really enjoyed seeing the other aspect of basically the same problem with May.
Yeah,
May would do this for her parents. If something happened to them, May would do this for her brother. Themes that keep haunting us. But on things we wish could have been, if only research had been done. But sorry. Anyway, the thing is that it's a really good story. May understands this well. She understands Rosetta, and there is a camaraderie, there is a friendship built on this mutual understanding of, they are going to fight the good fight until the very bitter end if they have to. And I think it's a really touching story. For me, I'm gonna go back in my notes. Like I said, I wrote these a whole week ago, so I'm just but it's I just the LadyHawks are awesome. Yeah, I think the rest of my notes were really just about how we're seeing actual lasting consequence, because this is kind of the first time that there is a lasting consequence in their team, like in this little friendship group, in the Warriors, in the MC2. This is the first lasting, really like serious consequence that we are seeing for being a crime fighter, and it's something that before this it's been minor. We did have Courtney in the hospital forever, but she got better.
Right.
Regina's not getting better, and Regina has to kind of change her tactics on helping, and she does, because she sort of becomes like her sister's oracle. But
her girl in the chair.
Yeah, her girl in the chair. Although that feels a little insensitive saying it like that.
Oh wow, I didn't even think about how insensitive that might sound. Oh no.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No harm, no foul. But and that's what I'm like. The thing is that this is kind of like we're seeing it just like May is seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like she understood it, but I don't think has really come super face to face with it. And now here's somebody she knows, someone she's worked with, someone I think May pretty much trusts, that now can't do what we knew she was supposed to do. She can't do what these girls all have a shared feeling about, because that is a actual thing that can happen in this line of work. And that's one reason why when we first start with MJ saying like, look, I understood the consequence, I understood what could happen, but you're my baby, like you're not, which I'm sure you have a better perspective on. But like, that's the thing is it, I don't know if May fully, like May understood it, but she didn't really grasp the severity. And of course too, these are things that are like, they're lightly touched on. It's not like this is like super hitting home on her, because May's first thing is, I'm going to help the LadyHawks. They've always helped me. I have to be there for them. And we get to see their story.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's one of those things where it's very human. Mm-hmm. Her reaction and her anger, and to get this depth. And Venkman does mention the LadyHawks first appeared in issue 6 of the first fight, so it's been 101 issues since their first appearance, and to me they've been a constant bit, and they've joined the Warriors, and they've fought alongside in all these world-ending events. And you're right. The one thing about the MC2 is that there is some Archie elements where it seems like there were certain things that didn't have consequences. And then we get to the end of volume 1 and there's definite massive consequences. And when I say that, I'm talking about the Spider-Girl section. Obviously we saw consequences of things like with A-Next and Fantastic Five and things like that. But like with Mayday's world, you're right. There wasn't a ton of lasting consequences, and certainly Regina's injuries it's definitely a turning point in May's superhero career.
I think too, like, things get a little bit more mature at this point, and I want to say that as like things aren't going dark, but the thing is as May is growing up, the audience is seeing that kind of little tick by.
Exactly.
That's a part. To me, that's one of the beauties of early Spider-Man as well, because it's a very similar, I guess, storytelling thing. It's like as the character is growing, so does the story, so does the world building, and so does the little changes over time. Because this is something that, like, I don't know if this would have flown in early Spider-Girl. I don't think that it would have hit that mark. But at this point, at this point it was almost inevitable. We needed to understand, like, the thing is like, yeah, Hobgoblin is dangerous, but just to make sure, like, you are fully understanding, just because May can handle him doesn't mean he is not still a dangerous villain.
Yeah, I'll say this. Hobby, I didn't read the stuff in the 80s until after this, after this. So my feelings and thoughts on Roddy certainly are influenced by Goblins at the Gate, but a lot of it is this and how Tom and Ron handle Roddy as the Hobgoblin. And I think that for the longest time, this was the most fleshed out that we got with Roderick, because they brought him back, or they revealed him as the Hobgoblin, and then they kind of put him off to Belize, and then we don't see him until literally in the 616. We don't see him until the Big Time arc, where it was Daniel, revealed to be Daniel later on.
No, I mean, to me, this is such a continuation of Roderick's story from that time point, from the 80s. And that's the thing, though, is it's like, sure, you might think not elderly, but an older person might not be so dangerous, so deadly.
Mm-hmm.
But Hobgoblin is, like, and this isn't child's play. This isn't a game. This isn't just something May can do after school. This is a very serious, task she's taking on.
Yeah.
These are the things we're seeing of just, like, we've gone through her learning how to do this and learning that she can do this. She really, really can be her own, she can be the hero, and she can stand on her own 2 feet, and she doesn't have to be behind her father's shadow. But she's now, like, really grasping. The thing is she can, she learned it, and especially towards the end when she did almost die. But, seeing it around her friend group as well, I think is a different hit.
Yeah, no. And I'll say this. Spiders need goblins, and Roddy becomes, what if Norman never went? It's never personal with Roddy, too. That's the thing. It doesn't have the personal nature of the Green Goblin and Spider-Man, the way that relationship is.
Yeah.
But it's definitely business, and May is getting a crash course on the superhero biz.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that's definitely felt throughout this entire volume. But if we want to move on, we can. Do you have any more thoughts on 7?
I don't think so. I think I pretty much said it, other than I can't believe you had to just now read it, because it's great. And now you see what I mean? I wasn't just making shit up. Like,
you're not JR. No, love you, JR, but friend of the network.
I do actually know some things. I did actually read these issues.
Times. So we are getting to our last issue of the night. It is issue number 8, Mary Jane's Daughter, Amazing Spider-Girl. You got Mary Jane on the cover. I'm holding it up for our audio listeners, and it says the blurb has, "No one hurts my little girl," and May is like, "Stop it, Mom, you're embarrassing me." Something that I will definitely be hearing in the very few short years myself. So this was released, cover date of July 2007, released on May 9th, 2007, right around the time of Spider-Man 3. So Our issue opens with a typical morning in the household, with MJ and May talking as the latter gets ready for school. There's some tension, of course. This tension is a holdover from the last couple of issues, but unlike every other issue, seemingly, this issue is not from the perspective of it's not from the perspective of Mayday. It's from the perspective of Mary Jane. She explains to herself that she was relieved that May stopped being Spider-Girl when she stuffed the costume in the closet, which is the name of the issue, the closet. We learned that the day started with May's spider sense going off at school when she is around a student named Sarah Hingle. When she got near her, she has this migraine and just dismisses it, says, "Oh, it's nothing." But May's spider sense is never wrong. And then Sarah starts to exhibit powers. May has everyone evacuate. Everyone's freaking out while May stays behind and tries to help. Jean is concerned, of course, and freaking out. And speaking of freaking out, we have Sarah, who has heard the cries of beauty and freak and says she will never be fine again, attacking May. A while later, MJ is taking May out of school, and obviously the events of school means that school got canceled. And Mr. Slattery remarks that what May did was very heroic. She was able to evacuate most of the people, and a while later, MJ wants to know what happened to Sarah, because Sarah was tutored by May during May's sabbatical as a superhero during the summer. And she is told by Slattery that Sarah has options, mainly to stay and continue her studies at Midtown or go to the X-People, Xavier Institute of Mutants. The parents, of course, have been bombarding him. They're concerned about the situation, calling her an aberration of nature, quote unquote. MJ is, of course, utterly horrified by this, but they leave his office. As they leave his office, Courtney and DeVita are obviously looking to check up on May. DeVita wonders if she was attacked, while May assures them that Sarah didn't know what she was doing. Heather and Courtney lament the situation, and Jean rears his ugly head as a bigot, while DeVita jumps to defend what May was saying. Jean focuses on May, but she's going to go. But May wants to go check on Sarah. Jean would join them, but Flash wants him to get checked out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Of course, May can't go see her because she's in a medical facility where they're keeping her kind of sort of sedated. And she laments to her dad. Peter has experiences with this and wants to talk with MJ about but MJ wants to talk to Sarah's parents, and of course May and MJ decide to head over together. May hands Benji off to Benji, who has been having trouble burping with MJ earlier in the morning. Of course, he finally burps. So, had a baby that has not burped. It's terrible. Meanwhile, at Sarah's house, her parents are struggling to get their head around the entire situation. Sarah's dad, Dwayne, is really angry over everything, calling his daughter a freak. And May starts to kind of get tears in her eyes, and they start to head home. MJ reflects on things, and Peter plays a little bit of devil's advocate. Peter mentions that that part of this conversation is starting to sound a little more familiar, as you know, the fears that they're having being a parent and May's using her powers. She says that nothing is the same, and then she sees the figure that stalks the closet. That figure being the manifestation of her fears of the costume. After a ultimate Fantastic Four pullout ad, with an ad for the first Transformers film, we catch up at Midtown High, where Gene is trying to smooth things over with May. He apologizes for his behavior, citing he was in shock over the entire situation, which, okay, fair, given that he hasn't been in Midtown all that long. So May is quick to forgive and lets him know of her plans, and maybe maybe he can sit there and redeem himself, right? Of course, he uses this as a means to weasel his way out of it, giving May a peck on the cheek, saying, "Oh, we'll catch up later after you get done with everything." So, one of the things that May was trying to do, she's got to go meet up with a lab partner for science, And later, we see MJ pacing on the floor while Peter and MJ are asleep. At the hospital, we see that Sarah is alone and she starts to exhibit her powers. She's starting to freak out. She wants to get out of here. She wants her old life back. MJ has decided that she's going to head over, while May has also finished her science project with her lab partner, and she's headed home herself. Then she bumps into Sarah. Cindy, her mom, is trying to get MJ to talk sense to her husband, but he's been talking with Slattery, who is trying to talk to the parents and to determine the best course of action. But Dwayne has made his mind up. He is sending her upstate, and that's final. He's, of course, really incredibly rude to MJ because obviously MJ made known, what she thought earlier. So May is trying to talk to Sarah at the same time. So this is like the top panels are of the situation with Mary Jane. The bottom panels are the situation with Mayday. And a really nicely laid out sequence, by the way. My describing it does not do it justice. May is, trying to talk to Sarah, but Sarah claims that she's cured and she just wants to go home. But of course, this starts to backfire because May is just trying to get her to stop and let her and listen to what May has to say. And it starts to backfire. But Sarah is determined to get home. Dwayne is not having things and he's getting increasingly angrier at the situation, while Cindy is trying to show that MJ is here to help. Literally, nobody wants to look them in the eye. She's the only one that is actually here to try to talk to them and actually treat them with respect. And it's been a very hard and difficult situation. May is trying to talk sense to Sarah, but it's gotten to the point where she has to reveal herself to her to get her to calm down. And that's what she does. Meanwhile, MJ is making a point that being a parent is hard to do. It's not about coping. It's about supporting. The kids are going to stumble and fall, and that's okay. You have to let them. With great power comes great responsibility. As this is happening, May is consoling Sarah, Sarah realizing that she is truly not alone. She's not a freak. And of course, everything starts to click in Sarah's head why she quit student council and the basketball team. She wants to know if she's able to have that normal life. And May consoles her. Cindy begs Dwayne to not let his anger take their baby away. MJ and Slattery leave when May shows up with Sarah and helps reunite them. Dwayne is still not convinced, while MJ remarks that happy endings can sometimes take time. After an ad for the post-House of M world, ironically, we turn to our letters page, despite not finishing the story. Shout out to James, SARS, and Brian. They wrote letters there. Slattery is impressed with MJ and offers her a job at the school as a guidance counselor. May kind of offhandedly remarks how chummy they are. Maybe he's going to be her new dad. But May kind of makes a joke about it depends on how he feels about little kids and being fed chili, which has apparently been an ongoing issue with Peter and Benji. May thanks MJ for having her back with Sarah, and just having her back in general, but MJ's really not so sure. They get home, and she informs May that her and Peter have come to a decision. She was born to be Spider-Girl. That this ordeal with Sarah has opened her eyes and shown her that. She asks her for forgiveness and then heads up the stairs to May, with May in utter disbelief, to go discuss the situation with Benji and Chili. All right, so Kelly, your thoughts on issue number 8 on the I just finished the rundown.
Yes. So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, because I had some weird things with my headset earlier. You were doing your rundown, and I had ran off. So that was fun. So yeah. So the thing is like, I love this issue. Yeah. Okay. I wrote okay, and maybe all right. I'm just gonna read what I wrote because I totally just slightly forgot everything, and then I'll talk more about how much I do love this issue, because I I really enjoy when May is able to help others in this way
Mhm.
as well as MJ. But I was okay. So I went okay. Number one, and maybe this is just showing how like not cool I am, but Jean Pants. Oh yeah, yeah. So this is this whole rant about this one panel on how Jean is drawn. Now he's drawn great. It's great. It's just a fashion choice, and I know it was of the time, but his pants look like they're like under his butt, and it it bugs me because it looks so stupid. Like, how do you run like that?
You don't.
Yeah, you don't. You fall. It's horrible. Anyway, so I had that, and it was so bad because this is the scene when they all go to visit Sarah in the hospital, and it's so funny because it's like, one, you should hate him because he's being really bigoted, but two, I hate him entirely different. I hate him because his pants are like halfway around his ankles. Like, it's horrible. I just can't stand it. I don't. It's something in me. It's like, I guess I'm not cool, but like it's just like, you have a belt, put it above your butt. That's all I'm asking. And I know that this is just like the way it was drawn, but it's like that was
Yes.
also the style at the time, so I don't know if that was intentional or not. And I'm just like, I'm assuming it's intentional because I'm assuming it's to make you hate him. So anyway, there's that. But yeah, so like I said, it wrote like, unless I was like, it has to be because you like, we're supposed to insta hate him and not just because he's very insensitive about what happened. See, like, this is the thing I was talking about earlier with Jean. You know, while I do think of Jean, you know, Jean is more of a mess coming from selfishness and true ignorance versus like Brad's arrogance. Yes, that. I hate that.
All right, listeners, I'm showing I'm showing his saggy pants.
I hate that. Anyway, I hate it. Anyway, like I said, I do think Jean's almost like being scared of Sarah and scared of it is literally more true ignorance and more selfishness because I think he was actually scared for his own life for a second. And that's where this hatred is coming from.
Yeah.
You know, because my thing is like I said, like it's like there's a very clear track record here without saying so that Felicia and Flash seem to have very they seem to have lacked a lot of parenting. So I wouldn't put it past Jean to be pretty intolerant, especially because, again, to go back to Flash in high school, there's a lot of arrogance and ignorance there as well, because he has to learn. But it's just I wish, yeah, I literally wrote, I was like, can the boy please pull up his pants? Because how can he walk like that? I like, the whole rant is just about this one panel. And unfortunately, this is what y'all are going to be getting from now on because we have like really beautiful artwork that's really detailed in the background for stuff like that. And I will notice it and I'm going to rant. Thank you, Ron Friends, for allowing me to rant about nonsensical things in very important issues such as this one. But yeah, so for real, I really love the part with MJ and Peter talking before bed. I really enjoy getting to see Mary Jane's side and feelings because I don't think that that's been super like it's touched on. We understand it, but you know, it's something that really kind of drives it home because now we're being put in Mary Jane's shoes.
Yes.
And you know, I really enjoy them like getting ready for bed together and kind of seeing that domestic side that, especially during this time, you know, was being threatened left and right and then eventually taken away from us. So it was good to see it. And since, you know, we hadn't had a solid Pete and MJ moment in the books in a good while here too, it was very, very it's honestly one of my favorite things out of this book beyond the main story. And
Yeah.
also I'm side eyeing Peter's who feeds a baby chili?
Oh boy.
He's smart, but there's things I question in his logic at times. And yeah, so for real though, I do think that this is a great issue in which we see basically we get to see that, how May handles things and saves the day, but also just how Mary Jane is a major force to be reckoned with, and how her own gumption and attitude helped form May too. Because May is Mary Jane's daughter. There is no question about it. And this is something that I think sometimes needs to be reminded about who MJ really is, who she is at heart, who
Yes.
this essence of her character. And this is the perfect issue to show that and show an older MJ that still has all these things. Like, I mean, there's a reason I'm writing the word gumption in this. And it's just MJ saw this opportunity, and even though everyone's turning their back on this girl and her family, Mary Jane's not one of those people. She knows that they need support and that they need help, and she's going to do it regardless of how it looks to others. It's not socially acceptable. That's something I think people forget when they're like, oh, she's the party girl, she's the cool girl. She was doing these things because they brought joy to her life, and honestly was kind of a mask in hiding herself, but she never did it because they were cool. She did it because it's almost like she was the offbeat cool girl. She was, some people, like when they see Zendaya in No Way Home, and they're like, oh, but she's not a bombshell, blah blah blah. There's an essence of MJ in that, in the sense of there's a nonconformist in MJ.
And she's very much
makes her who she is.
Mm-hmm. There's also that chameleon aspect where she kind of sits back and
she sits back and reads the room. And obviously, we could go all day long about her backstory and why she would do that and how her upbringing caused that. But even though she might play up the all eyes on me, I want to be a star, I'm going to be a star, she's clocked everything in that room the moment she comes in. She probably sweeps it far better than most detectives, to be honest. I mean, she's smart and she's aware of her surroundings, and she's aware of how people are. She understands how people feel. Like, her history and her past has never made her bitter completely. And that's like this thing here. She, like I said, she knows people need her help, and she's going to help them because they shouldn't be persecuted for something that is ultimately traumatic, and ultimately for Sarah, not something that they ever expected. Like, that's also another thing. Like, people, like, Sarah is scared, and you can see that. And people, like, when they're scared, they can lash out, especially when they feel like there is no help for them, and they know that they are a pariah, because especially, like, you see the way her dad acts, so you can imagine she's probably never really grew up in a very pro-mutant household. And so for her to wind up being a mutant, that's scary. That makes her hate herself. That makes her very scared of what's going to happen next, which I think is a very relatable feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's traumatic. And you can tell that in Sarah. And that's why, like, the moment she realizes, wait, May is like me. Now, of course, May is not like her, but see, May's not even going to tell her that.
No.
Because at the end of the day, it's not about May. It's about Sarah and how she needs to handle it. And like, the moment she finds somebody that, okay, I can confide in, she literally starts breaking down, saying, can we do this? Like, is there hope? And we'll see Sarah later with all these more things, but it's a very, once again, a very important issue with a very serious story that needs to be told.
Absolutely.
We can relate to, especially about growing up.
it was ironic that at the time they were purging the mutants because they thought that was what was needed.
I mean, I slightly feel like maybe they should just get cut to about 4 books. I think that's good.
Yeah.
There's times where there's like 20, and there's a lot. You can't keep up, okay?
I applaud Neil and his ambition to cover books to cover the Krakoa era here on the network with Books of X, but yeah, it's a big commitment. The X-Men is very, just very complicated. I think is the only way of describing it. For me, this issue hits a lot different. Reading it as a 35-year-old as opposed to a 19-year-old. I love Mary Jane's characterization here. She is just phenomenal. It's no secret that Tom and Ron can spin a Mary Jane story. I mean, they're the ones that brought all the backstory of MJ back in the 80s. So for her to be, get a starring role, she has not had a starring role in this title at any point. So getting things from her perspective.
No, I mean, okay, she's had a starring role in the sense of she's May's mother, and to May, she is, yes, she can be annoying, but I mean, May has always held her to a very high regard the whole time. So she's a star in that aspect. We've never seen her thoughts.
Right. And to get the spotlight is maybe the better term. Letting this version of Mary Jane get that spotlight it's refreshing, because the words that she says to Dwayne, you can see that Cindy understands what she's saying. Dwayne is the thing is in both Dwayne and Sarah's cases, they're both fearful. Dwayne, because of he's fearful of what's next, in the same way that Sarah is fearful of what's next. And so, whereas the fear that Sarah has is like pure fear, Dwayne's fear manifests itself in his anger. And he just doesn't understand. And when you have something traumatic happen as a parent, and you see this all the time with children, the anger is not necessarily at the child, it's at the situation, and how can this have happened to us? We're good people, and why is this quote unquote bad thing happening? And it really is very authentic and real how he's reacting here, even though he's being a complete jerk.
Well, I'll put it this way. I've always akin this, of course now I am a straight cis woman, so I've never been in these shoes, but I've always akin this particular issue and Sarah's story to, being homosexual. Like, the thing is like, for Dwayne, he is worried about his daughter, but he's worried about her in the sense of if she doesn't conform, if she can't conform, what is this going to do to her? And therefore, how is this going to reflect on me?
Right.
And we can say things that is, very insensitive, and it is, but it also comes from a very, like you said, a very real place. Because the thing is ultimately, he's worried. He's worried for his daughter. He does love his daughter, but he doesn't understand at this time to be able to eventually accept her for who she is. And he's scared of how the world will accept her, and he's retreating almost inside himself, versus Cindy is very much like, please, like, we have, this is our baby. We have to save her. We have to support her unconditionally. And I think that this is a real story in that aspect. And that's kind of I think I'm surprised we actually don't have a lot of our newer fan base from Twitter on here, because there's a lot of discussion on them wishing that they could see certain characters like like what they feel and who they are. They want to kind of be able to equate that, and this is kind of one of those stories where I think it does equate, but it's not the way, it's not our main character, because that's not who May is. But this is, to me, this is very similar to Sarah. Sarah's plight being told, but it's being told as a mutant, of course, always, whenever, in the past, with very important X-Men stories, they have represented the oppressed and minority. And so this is, I think, one of those times. And I think that, when you look at it that way, it does hit home in a very real way without really being, it's not super preachy, I think, but it is very much a reminder that people are going, people don't just sit there and just say it to be cool. They're not saying, like, there's a lot of negative repercussions that happen when you are different than the normal conformity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's a lot of strife, and this is kind of showing you that, a lot of fear. And, Sarah can't help who she is and what's happening to her. But the thing she does need is love and acceptance, so she can, she can figure out her life with, she can figure out her life on her own terms and become the best person she can be.
Yeah. I always viewed this issue from the lens of, like, it being the allegory for racism, because I'm thinking mutants.
Well, too, she's also biracial. Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of turns that it's a little twisted here. Like, it's turned on its head because her father is black, and you have a biracial home. And it didn't really register with me about the plight of, using it as an allegory for homosexuality, and especially in the time period of which this was published.
Because this is, I believe, this is when were they allowed? When was same-sex marriage allowed? 2007? Huh?
I thought it was 2012.
Oh, 2012. So yeah, so this is before that.
But this was coming like the unions and the same-sex marriage, and a lot of the it was starting to become that hot button issue and that topic. So I never.
That's right, because this is before Obama.
Yeah.
It feels longer than it's been. It's been a long 20, like, this year has just been, it's been 10 years. 2022 has been 10 years. Just
it's 2022.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no.
Be able to stop making type of jokes.
No, the year's not done yet. It's not done with us. But no, like, I mean, and of course, I'm kind of tiptoeing around the issue because I don't want to, like, I'm not trying to be preachy on my beliefs. I know people have different beliefs. I personally am just, if it doesn't hurt you and your life, who cares? Support people, love people, respect people, be kind to people, and support, to me, I support my friends and unconditionally. But the thing is, yeah. But I'm not trying to upset any audience member who might be listening and feels differently. But I do feel like this is a very realistic. This is a very realistic show of, like I said, of homosexuality, because this is something that she can't help, and it just happened. And how is she supposed to put that back in the box? Because she can't not be who she is.
Right.
And what that can do to a family who's not expecting this.
Yeah, and there's so many layers of this issue, because from the parental side, the struggles of being a parent, you are constantly feeling like you're judged. Like, and especially in the age of social media, like everything you do when you broadcast it on social media as a parent is scrutinized. And if your kid's doing something wrong, it's scrutinized. And, the fear that parents have of you want to put them in the bubble, right? You want to blow the bubble up and you want to put them in the bubble and nothing bad ever happens to them. Nothing bad ever will. You don't want anything ever to happen. You just want them to be happy and safe.
Uh-huh.
In this issue, MJ shows that that's not reality.
No.
If you want kids to grow up, they've got to stumble. They've got to fall. They've got to do things, and they've got to learn the same lessons that you learned. Similar lessons. Now, hopefully not the exact same lessons. You want to impart your wisdom to the child, but you got to let them have the freedom to be able to be themselves.
Exactly.
And that's definitely what you're seeing with the inner conflict with Mary Jane, in that, you can put things in the closet and put the costume in the closet, but it doesn't mean it's not still there. The problem is still there. You can sit there and avoid it.
I don't want to ever call it a problem, but the thing is yes, you can avoid these things, and like I said, you use the closet allegory without quite realizing it, but
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And is this is one of those issues that just kind of hits that. It's like, yeah, a parent can just choose to ignore parts of their child, but are you actually fully supporting them and giving them what they need by that? And even though we know Peter and Mary Jane, they love May. Everything is coming from a place of love and wanting to protect her and wanting to make sure she is safe and she can, I think at this point it's just survive another day. But it is, the thing though is like, is that actually helping May grow up and be a human being, like, or be an adult? Or is that you're almost kind of your own ego and your own need to hold on to, like I said, with good intentions, to protect them? Because at the end of the day, eventually you can't, like, there's going to be a day where you're not going to be able to protect your child anymore. And I know that that's a scary thought. Like, I mean, that I know that, like, again, these are one of these things where it's like, as a teen and I'm reading this, I understand a little bit, but I didn't understand the gravity until it's like, yeah, like, I mean, we've had conversations about my parents. I think, like, I can safely say, like, I have two very dedicated parents, very much like Peter and MJ here. They're not going to let go. They're not going to, if they can find a way to protect me in any way, they will. But, eventually they had to learn when I was in college that I was an adult and they can't protect me from everything. And I know that's scary. I know that's hard. And even now, like, 31 years old, I still talk to them daily. They still check in on me. They still want to know where I am and what's going on. They still love me. But, there's life experiences I've had to live with. And
oh no, we got frozen. We got frozen Kelly. Of course, as we start winding down the episode. So I'll really quickly, I'll read some comments. Bigman says, you can see Sarah Hingle in the background of Amazing Spider-Girl #1. And we lost Kelly. So while we wait for Kelly to get back on, yes, Finkman, there was a Spider-Girl story you missed. It's a prose story. So Mr. Comic said earlier that he didn't know if he's ever pre-ordering for Pop in the Box again. Hello. I was reading the comments while you were gone.
Yeah, sorry, it died, and I had to just reset. Like, the internet didn't die, but it just decided to cut the
Cut your feed
for a bit. Yeah. So anyway,
no.
it was fine. We were walking in circles on the
It's
same
true.
thing anyway. I think we've hit it on the head. It's
Yes.
MJ is a great parent, and she got to learn a lesson in parenting as well as we did in this issue.
Yes, absolutely.
She, like May in the last issue, grounded herself.
I mean, that it's very the final scene is very poignant, and obviously there's a joke at the end where now I have to go talk to your father about some chili and your brother. But at the same time, she's as a parent, you have to learn to forgive yourself for your mistakes that you make with that child. And that is something that is very real. Very, very real. And it's very poignant. So kudos to Tom and Ron and the crew, because they crushed this one. They crushed these issues out of the park. So they did a great job.
Yeah, totally. I love the fact too. It's like we kept saying this whole time, oh yeah, 3 issues. This will be easy. We'll probably be done in an hour. But because they're such good issues with such important stories, we have really just dug deep in here, and we've now hit about the same time we normally do. But I think it's a good thing. I hope people like our deep dives.
There is a way to let people know about that too.
Yeah.
You can always leave us an email at makemymayday@gmail.com or SpideyDudeRadioNetwork@gmail.com. Voicemail if you like, 818-925-6631. You can leave us some feedback. We don't have any of the feedback this episode, so
no, not yet. I'm
sure
we will though.
Yes, I'm sure that there will be some that will be writing in or calling in. So you can always go to r/SpiderGirl. There's also the Discord group too. If you haven't checked it out, I think you can find the link on Reddit.
Yes, and also too, definitely, because I don't think we super always ask for reviews, but definitely leave us a review on Apple, and then and star us if you're listening to Spotify. Give us 5 stars if you like us. Just so that way that helps with the algorithms and helps us maybe get some new listeners.
Yeah.
And obviously share and subscribe and do all the fun things so we can maybe get more letters. But yeah, so next episode is going to be Fantastic 5 Volume 2. We're going to go through all 5 issues. I did not skim it to give it a blurb, and I'm going to be perfectly honest. I only remember a teeny tiny bit that rocks the team to their core in this one. It's another lasting consequence, I believe.
Yes.
And let's just say, I think you're going to want to tune into it, especially if you liked Fantastic 5 Volume 1 and you just like the Fantastic 5. Because it's, from what I remember, it's a lot of fun. But like I said, I've only reread it twice. So I don't know. Like I said, all I can remember is it's not a twist, but what happens. And I don't want to give it away because I think that it's something that is very earth-shattering. Characters. So we will definitely, I think right now it's going to be the last week of July. I don't want to set that in stone just yet, guys, just because I do want I want to make sure that everything is good.
Right.
But I will say this. I am working from home next week, so we are pretty much free. So if we want to do it next Thursday on the 28th, like planned, we should be good to go.
So tentatively we'll say the 28th, but definitely be sure to check out our social medias. That is definitely one of the best ways to find out more information. Go to the Facebook page at Spidey Dude Network, as well as the Instagram. You got Twitter at Spidey Dude Radio and at Make My Mayday. YouTube, of course, youtube.com/Spidey Dude Radio Network. Be sure to give us the like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. TikTok, you can find at Make My Mayday and at Spidey Dude Network. I promise I'm going to produce more content on TikTok. I'm an old man trying to use new technology, so.
I don't know. I'm a little scared of TikTok, honestly. Like, it's fun for the cosplay stuff, but like once you get out of that, TikTok is a scary place. It's
it can be used in a very negative way.
It's a scary place.
It's kind of like Twitter too. I mean, like the TikTok and Twitter are kind of like both can be. Oof.
Yeah.
So we'll begin to wrap the episode up. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for everybody that was listening to us tonight. Thank you for our live comments. We really do appreciate it. Be sure, like we said, be sure to leave us emails and voicemails. We will play them on a future episode. And let us know what you think. Be sure to give us reviews on our Discord as well. Go to spidey.com. You can find the Discord link up at the top of the page. Join our Discord. And we want to thank our latest subscriber, Sir Gigalot. He just joined this. I know his name makes me.
I love the name. The name is great.
It's a great name. So thank you for our latest subscribers, and thank you guys for our Patreon. We want to also, at the end of the episode, mention our Patreon subscribers as well. Vickman, Scott, Jurgen, Greg Phoenician, Georgia, Cindy, and Kale. Thank you guys for your support of this program and all the fine programs here on the Spidey Dude Radio Network. Got some exciting stuff coming to you very soon, and we cannot wait to bring it to you. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time here on the Spidey Dude Radio Network.